The house smelled of cinnamon and roasted turkey, a comforting scent that should have meant warmth, family, safety. I moved quietly down the hallway toward the guest room, but something made me pause. The study door was slightly ajar. Voices drifted through the crack, my father's, low and unyielding. "She's worthless," he said. "Your sister, she's done." For a moment, I thought I hadn't heard correctly, but Nathan's hesitant voice followed, timid, unsure. My heart stopped. Every step I had taken through that house, every smile I had forced, every holiday greeting, replayed in my mind like a cruel echo. From my vantage point, I caught a glimpse of my mother near the window, her back straight, arms folded, observing silently. Richard, ever precise, shuffled papers at his desk. Nathan slouched on the sofa, looking small under my father's gaze. And then Sylvia turned. Her eyes met mine across the narrow opening. Instead of shock or shame, there was a faint, knowing smile. Quiet, almost conspiratorial. That smile cut deeper than the words I had just overheard. It told me what I had always suspected but never wanted to admit. That my place in this family had been quietly erased, my accomplishments discounted, my voice unheard. And for the first time, I understood the full extent of the invisible ledger that governed my life. I retreated into the shadows, memories colliding into a sharp, unavoidable truth. How many times had Nathan been celebrated while I went unnoticed? His debate victories, his school trips, every award, every moment of parental pride heaped on him without question. And me? I had learned early that recognition was something carefully rationed, a resource I was rarely granted. Except for one person, Grandma Helen. Her house smelled of lavender and old books, a safe sanctuary from the judgment and coldness of my own family. On weekends, she would spread bank statements across a kitchen table, walking me through interest, savings, and the value of independence. Money isn't just cash, it's freedom. Learn to hold it wisely, and no one can take it from you.
Sylvia followed, immaculate in mourning attire, fragrance lingering. Nathan shuffled in last, hair mussed, confusion etched across his face. I slid the folders toward them. Every dollar I've contributed since leaving Chicago. $42,000 in transfers, $8,000 from Grandma Helen's inheritance. Fraudulent loan documents signed in my name. Read them. Richard's jaw tightened. This is unnecessary. Families help one another. No, I interrupted. Steady, calm. Help doesn't involve theft. I earned what I gave. You took it without consent. Sylvia's voice trembled. Karen, darling, you're overreacting. We've supported you in our own way. I paid my way through school. I earned my scholarships. I worked jobs to survive. You siphoned my resources while erasing me, I said, letting silence magnify the weight of each word. Nathan was speechless. I let the evidence settle like a stone in their stomachs. When I stood, my words were final. No more transfers, no more guarantees. I will not underwrite a family that erases me. Nathan's face paled. Karen, you misunderstand. Dad never meant. Did I misunderstand working nights while you drove a new car at 16? Did I misunderstand paying my own tuition while you had it covered? Did I misunderstand $500 monthly from my salary while you lived rent-free? My voice was quiet, but every word struck like a hammer. He faltered, realization dawning. He had benefited from my work, my sacrifices, my money, all without understanding where it came from. His shock, then shame, filled the room. The house felt different. Power shifted. For the first time, they were on the defensive. I returned to the guest room, packed efficiently, canceling every authorization connected to family accounts. Automatic transfers ceased. Credit reports were frozen. Fraudulent guarantees reported. The ties loosened until only shadows remained. My suitcase stood ready before dawn. Boston awaited. New job, new life. No inherited burdens, no invisible chains. Before leaving, I carried with me Helen's brass key, engraved with one word at a small shop near the airport. Boundaries. Not wealth, not privilege, but meaning, freedom, autonomy. Months later, Sylvia emailed, sentiment dripping from each line, weaving childhood memories into pleas. I replied simply, acknowledgement, clarification, and limits. Richard reached out professionally. Nathan called, quietly acknowledging what he had long ignored. In Boston, I built a life Helen would have recognized. I created a scholarship in her name, teaching young women the lessons she taught me: independence, self-reliance, financial literacy. The past pressed at times, but no longer dictated my path. My apartment overlooked the Charles River, sunlight glinting off the water. Above my desk hung Helen's key, boundaries. It no longer opened doors, but it unlocked freedom. When Michael and I married, the ceremony was small, intimate, surrounded by those who valued me for my own merit. Nathan attended alone, subdued. Richard and Sylvia absent. Family, I realized, isn't defined by blood or tables, but by those who invest in your worth without demanding repayment. Helen's legacy wasn't money. It was knowledge, power, and freedom. I carried that forward, and finally, fully, I was free.
While Nathan complained that those visits were boring, I soaked up every word. And when Helen passed away during my senior year, leaving me $15,000 specifically earmarked for education, I felt both her love and her trust. My parents exchanged a brittle glance at the reading of the will, and my mother remarked, almost casually, "Helen always favored you, but don't let it turn into imbalance." That inheritance became my ticket out, though framed as an anomaly. Nathan had tuition, housing, endless allowances. I stretched Helen's gift across scholarships and part-time jobs, learning to survive on margins so tight they cut. And yet, each lesson she had imparted, discipline, strategy, independence, became my unseen armor. Northwestern was my first taste of invisibility paired with freedom. No one cared about the Albright name there. I was free to define myself on my own terms, through numbers, through work, through merit. Helen's inheritance paid my first year. Scholarships, tutoring, and library shifts carried me through the rest. Meanwhile, Nathan thrived at USC with every expense covered, including a shiny new car parked in the driveway. My dorm had peeling paint. My textbooks were used, bought and resold for cash. Years later, I landed in Chicago, starting at a financial consulting firm. My apartment was small, 700 square feet, but every piece of furniture I refinished felt like a declaration of ownership, a statement that I was building something entirely my own. My savings grew, slowly but steadily. Retirement contributions followed, then investments, and eventually a portfolio that even some older colleagues envied. Yet obligation lingered like a shadow. Every month, without fail, $500 was wired back home. It started during a temporary slowdown in Dad's construction business. At the time, I considered it duty, proof that I belonged. But sitting now in the guest room, after overhearing Dad's cruel dismissal, I realized the truth. That money had funded a machine that now declared I was worth nothing. Thanksgiving arrived. The table sparkled with crystal, polished silver, meticulously arranged by my mother. I rehearsed the words to tell them about Michael, my fiancé, and the engagement ring I had chosen. But before I could speak, Nathan began explaining his latest startup idea. My father leaned forward, eager, grilling him about growth and investments. My mother placed her hand over Nathan's, beaming, proud, as if the meal itself existed for him alone. I tried again. I said, Sylvia glanced at me, her faint smile dismissive. I stopped. The moment vanished. My announcement disappeared like it never existed. I withdrew to the guest room, hands trembling, unable to reconcile the facade of family with the reality I had seen. Hours later, the study door stood ajar again. I froze at the words I overheard. The business, the house, the trust, it all goes to Nathan. She doesn't need any of it. My heart pounded. Through the crack, I saw Nathan nod, uneasy. My mother's reflection in the window caught mine. That same quiet, knowing smile. The night had shifted. My place in their hierarchy had been erased. I sat with my laptop on the bed. Refused me. I opened every ledger I had carried across the country. Bank transfers, account statements, receipts. $42,000 sent to family accounts. $8,000 from Helen's inheritance diverted to Nathan's failing startup. Loan documents signed in my name without my knowledge. The reality hit harder than the November chill seeping through the window. I cataloged every dollar, every moment, every slight, every overlooked success. 7 pages of truth. This wasn't just about money. It was validation, proof of a lifetime's imbalance. By the first light of dawn, I had tallied it all. The ledger was final. My voice would no longer be silenced. I brewed coffee, laid 4 mugs on the dining table, and positioned the folders like uninvited guests at a banquet. Richard arrived first, eyes flicking between mugs and papers. "Sit," I said. "We need to discuss something."